Salam, 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 namaste, salam, 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 namaste.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1 and here we go. सलाम नमस्ते 90.4 सामुदायिक रेडियो स्टेशन पर दोस्तों स्वागत है आपका एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग रेडियो प्रोग्राम में. Yes, we are talking about something which we see, which we feel. Now we will talk about it. Welcome to Design Talks. यहाँ हम बात करेंगे डिजाइन के ट्रेंड्स की, डिजाइन के फील्ड में करियर की, और वो जो इनसाइड स्टोरीज होती हैं वो बहुत आसानी से पता नहीं चल पाती. हियर एट सलाम नमस्ते वी विल डिस्कस ऑल अबाउट डिजाइन, इनसाइड डिजाइन, आउटसाइड डिजाइन एंड एवरीथिंग अबाउट डिजाइन. आज जो हमारे साथ एक्सपर्ट आई हैं उनका बहुत सालों का एक्सपीरियंस है एंड शी इज अ वेरी वेरी रिच फ्लेवर्ड एक्सपीरियंस्ड I will say personality in the field of design, and whenever she teaches students it is like they are becoming another institutes. So let's welcome her, ma'am. A big welcome to Radio Salaam Namaste, and on behalf of all the listeners we request you please tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you, Varsha. It's a pleasure to be here. So what do I tell you about myself? Well, I think I would start with my life in design. Started with my studies at NIT Ahmedabad, and I specialize in textile design. And after that, I worked for a number of years in the industry as a designer, and then I realized that what I really would like to do is to teach and be with students and spread design education and become a design educationist. And that decision of mine was so wonderful because it gave me a beautiful life. I mean, you know, every day is a new day when you're a design educationist. And I joined NIFT and I've completed nearly 30 years teaching.
Wow.
And been a registrar there also along with teaching, a dean also along with teaching. And after I retired, I thought I would now relax and do my own paintings and everything, but no, I think I hadn't taught enough, I hadn't done enough for design education. So I joined IMS DIA at Noida sector 62. And it's just been an amazing experience even here. I have loved every minute that I spend here. Though I don't teach regularly, but I can't help myself when I do go into class. The students that we get admission here, many of them are coming from Bihar, from UP. But what we look at is their creativity. And it's amazing to see the change in them within a month or two. They are equal in their way of presenting, in their creative abilities as any other child coming from any school in Delhi or any other big city. So that itself is a big high to me. It gives me a huge high to see this beautiful change. There's a complete change, and education at IMS DIA is in English. They're able to follow, they're able to do research, they're able to understand the design process, they're doing beautiful projects all the time.
Yes, we all say that design is very, very powerful. One perfect design can speak so much and volumes.
Yes.
So my first question to you, ma'am, in Design Talks today is, please let us know a little about what do we really mean by the power of design?
Well, that's a lovely question, Basha. So, for me, design is everything. Design has the power, actually like a superpower, to reflect, to rethink, to reform, to rebuild, to reimagine, to recreate. The process of designing involves identifying problems which need to be refined, redesigned in order to improve the quality of life in general. So it's a huge area. It's general life in general. Can you imagine? So design is the ability to create conversations and galvanize people around a shared vision. So you know what's happening in the world today. There is so much of time, things that are getting wasted, and how we need to think in a responsible way to make our decision as designers sustainable towards finding, solving socio-economic and cultural historical issues which need to be addressed and changed for the better. Design is not about just aesthetics and beauty, which is very normally understood. There were people in Lakme that came out with designer nail polishes. Now that, I think, is a very wrong way of using design, because they just change colors. There was nothing new that happened with it. So people do use it wrongly, because it is not aesthetics. It's not that you change the bottle of the nail polish or a perfume and it just becomes design. No. Design and ethical are aligned with functionality, and then it is a good design. So, often we have this wonderful debate among designers saying, is form or shape important or functionality important? So we always say that form follows function. If there is no function, and what is function? How does the product work? Is it useful or not? Because if it's just beautiful, we don't need it. We don't need designers. We have to have, and then designers also have to work on whatever they designed. Has it actually created that convenience for the client or for the users? If not, then they make more changes. So it's a constant work and very interesting. In a way, we can easily say that designers are creative engineers. They work towards creating products which are sustainable and less problematic for the environment. Good design does not dominate people. Remember that. It only helps people. Design gives the creative confidence to think out of the box. It gives the power to think differently, think logically, and take the risk of finding an unknown solution. Take up new challenges which could not have occurred to another person. So, design shapes, in general, we can say that design actually shapes our future and has positive impact on human lives.
Wow, wonderful. I think, ma'am, we knew design very, very closely today because of you. And yes, absolutely. At times we just define design with colors or maybe, artistic things, but then the world is beyond it. And when we are talking about a world beyond all what a normal person can really define design as, we need to understand that very hand-counted people can become as creative as a designer. So my next question to you is, ma'am, can everybody become a designer? I mean, do we really have a capacity for everybody to think about design?
Well, you'd be surprised by my answer. The answer is yes. Just everybody in this world is capable of becoming a designer. When a child is young, just born, he's actually one of the best designers. He has all the qualities of what we teach designers to have. When we joined NID, we were told, if you can start becoming a toddler and thinking like a newborn, where you don't have to have any constraints saying that the sun has always to be painted yellow or orange, or the moon is white and silver. That is how a child thinks. It's we who, misguide a child. Say, no, you have to do this. An apple is red. An apple is not blue. But why not? Why can't an apple be painted blue? It's a taste. It's an apple. It's a fruit. As long as it's a fruit and tastes like that, it could be any color. So, yes. So, I would say everyone can be creative. And everyone can be creative enough to design. Those people who are observant. Now you tell me if everyone will fit into this. Those people who are observant, empathetic, that means you feel for the other person. You can get into the shoes of the other person. You can really understand how the person is feeling. You're sensitive. You're emotional. Such a person can easily be a designer. They can easily learn the design process and be able to follow all the steps and the stages of the design process effortlessly. So there are definitely certain, I won't call them rules, but there are certain steps that we follow in the design process, and once you learn it, it's like second nature. It's so effortless. It comes natural to us. For a designer, I would say design process is actually the spine, the brain, the human being behind design. So if we stop bothering about the fear of judgment, we can all be incredibly creative and innovative. It's actually this fear, oh God, I don't think I'm really a creative person. I think I'm very analytical, and so I cannot be a designer. Well, you're wrong, because anyone who is analytical can definitely be a designer, because a designer just has to be analytical. Otherwise, he cannot create for others. A designer is actually creating for others. I'll give you a nice example. In 1905, Mary Anderson, a real estate developer, was a passenger in a taxi in London. And it was a very cold, wintry night, and it was snowing. It was very nice and warm inside the taxi, but every now and then the driver could not see and look ahead, so he would open his window and roll it down, put his hand out with a fabric in his hand, and he would wipe the window and then go ahead again. In the meantime, what would happen is that the car would again get cold, then making her feel very cold and uncomfortable. Now she didn't just leave it at that. Imagine she was a real estate developer. She's not a design person, if people think there's something different. But it led to a thought. That's funny. Why cannot the windshield be cleaned from inside the car without opening the window? And that led to her thinking, led to sketches, and soon she was able to actually get a patent for her design, and it's what we all are using today. She began to think of a solution, succeeded in designing the first automatic car windshield cleaning device controlled from inside the car. So this itself makes it so clear. Anyone can design, a child can design beautifully, an old person can design beautifully. It's not got anything to do with a kind of person. I think designers are not a kind of person, but they're trained.
Yes.
And that.
Of course, we definitely require mentors like you, because हमें राह चाहिए ताकि हम मंजिल तक पहुंच सके. That's how we describe that the way should be full of designs, and we should know that the mentor has given us the perfect way. So now, taking this discussion ahead, ma'am, we would also love to know from you that is design really human-centric, or is it like again beyond this?
Yeah. See, design is always human-centric. And when we say human-centric, लोगों के लिए. हम design बनाते हैं लोगों के लिए. And it's a very clear difference between a designer and an artist. An artist paints for himself, his joy, his imagination, his thinking. He doesn't really care about who's going to use it, where is it going to get sold, how much is he going to sell it for. A true artist just paints for his own love and has nothing binding him from being creative. Whereas a designer has a market to think about, a clientele to think about. So it's definitely related to human beings. They are the ones that make our life easy. I'll share with you a very good example of the journey of Joe Dates. He designed medical imagery equipment, large imagery equipment with GE. And he is the one who designed the first MRI machine, which has helped save millions of lives. However, children who had to go through this MRI were terrified of the machine. And 80% of the little children who had to go through the MRI for proper diagnosis had to be sedated. They had to be given some medicine to sleep, because once you're in the machine, you cannot move. But the machine makes so much of noise when it is working on you, it can scare anybody. And so children were very scared. Now, the designer Doe once was standing in the hospital, and he was very proud of his MRI machine because it was saving so many lives. But suddenly he realized he saw a family, a mother, father and a little daughter. They were trying to cool her down. They were trying to tell her that it won't do her any harm. The machine is a kind machine. Don't get scared. She was crying. I don't want to go into this machine. I don't want to lie down on this. And that took him back to redesigning. So he started making a new MRI machine for children. And he decided to make it a happy experience for them and made the MRI machine feel like an adventure for children. He painted it beautifully, it was like somebody is on a ship and there are pirates and people chasing them. So that sound that is there in an MRI machine, he, kind of changed the whole thought in children that this sound is that of pirates who are trying to catch this ship. And so it is better not to be moving and to be very quiet, otherwise the pirates will catch you. So he used this idea so beautifully and made it such a fun space. You walked on the entire room in which this MRI machine for children is kept. So when they come there, they are like enchanted. It's like, it's like going to an adventure place. And then they even forget their fear. They forget that what's actually going to happen to them. And this was a real breakthrough, because gradually they realized that earlier they were sedating 80% of the children, but now it came down to just 10%. And children actually wanted to get in. And he relates whenever he has talked to clients and to people, he always has a tear in his eye and he says, that was such a beautiful moment when I saw a little girl who went into the MRI machine and came out. She had cancer and she went in very happily. She roamed around the room first and got into this whole spirit of adventure. She lay down on that table, which took her into the MRI machine. There were sounds, and she was very careful. But she wouldn't move because the pirates would catch her. And then she came out smiling.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she asked her mother, Mama, when are we going to come again? So
Wonderful.
that was pure success.
Wonderful. I mean, I feel if I wouldn't have spoken to you today, we would have not understood that design is actually creating human connects, and we are bettering the kind of life we all lead to. I think, design is making our life a little different, a little more perfect,
Yes.
and what all you have in your imagination. And if you think that there is a world beyond, then there is design. Wow, wonderful. It is so absolutely, I think when you were sharing, the world was appearing so mesmerizing to me.
That's nice.
So now that we have understood so much from you, ma'am, I think, a lot of youngsters, a lot of other people, because for design, age is not a bar. So a lot of people really want to carve their career in the field of design. Only if they get a real great mentor like you. So please do help us to know, ma'am, at Design Innovation Academy, what all courses do we have, and how can we help people, and how they can learn in the field of design and become somebody perfect in this field. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So, the design programs at IMSDR, there are 2 graduation programs which give you a degree, and that is fashion design and interior design. And then we have 2 years diploma courses, which is the DIA diploma. DIA stands for Design and Innovation Academy, where we are. And so the first one, which is a diploma, is in fashion and textiles, and the second is interior design. So these are our basic programs that we run. And apart from that, we have a lot of activities, workshops, craft. We have a lot of workshops done by famous designers, artists from abroad who have had a rich experience. So we bring the world, the international world, to you also, so that you are very well prepared for the future and you can work anywhere, not only in India. The FD students, the fashion design students, can choose their own path. This is the beauty of our course, which it doesn't exist anywhere. No other institute is doing this, but we are doing it. So the fashion design student can choose subjects to specialize in fashion styling or fashion management and entrepreneurship, cinematic costumes and styling, trend forecasting, brand management. This is all under fashion design. Surface and embroidery, fashion journalism, lifestyle and luxury management, fashion designing as a separate course, fashion marketing and merchandising. So in every semester there are a number of courses, and it depends on the student. If they want to become a fashion stylist, what are the subjects that he will choose every semester to finally make him a fashion stylist, or to make him a fashion designer, or to make him a brand management manager, or to get into fashion journalism. So he chooses his subjects every semester, and the faculty help the student to choose. So this is the beauty of it, and at the end of it, they can become experts in any of these fields, which all are actually part of the fashion design program. The other degree course is interior design, and these students again have a wonderful choice. They can choose subjects to specialize as interior designers, set and exhibition designers, lighting consultants, because all these are separate specializations and jobs under interior design. Building services, that's the MEP consultants they can work as, furniture designers, event and wedding planners also comes under interior design, interior stylists and decorators. So this is the huge gamut of choice that students get at our institute. And I'll also share a very interesting thing that we noticed last year, and it made me very proud of my country. We have 2 students who have come after they've got married.
Oh.
One of them has a child also. But and she's done some science something, because how parents often just force you into doing a certain, okay, I'm a doctor, father says I'm a doctor, you must also become a doctor. Obviously you should be a doctor. So this girl, her father's a doctor actually, and she was pushed into doing the science and blah blah. She did it because, in India, children do follow their parents, and parents are are able to convince the children really. But she wasn't happy. She got married. She has a child of 4 years. But it is her husband who realized that his wife has a huge talent of designing interiors. And he is the one who pushed her, why don't you do this? And she travels right from North Delhi every morning, leaving her child in a creche, and comes here to study 9 to 5. And she is one of the most brilliant students because she's mature. She doesn't, gel in very easily with the rest of the students who are just coming out to 12. But she's learning to. She's so happy to be young again. And she is doing amazing work. There's another student who comes from a very traditional UP home, where her father decided that after school, I'm not going to let my child go to a college, and especially not to a college where there are boys. And so she just studied from home, and she finished her graduation. But she one day walked in and she met me and she said, "Ma'am, I want to study." And I was a bit confused because she looked married. She was walking in with a guy who didn't look like her father and didn't look like her brother, but who was he? Turned out to be her husband. And he was so enthusiastic. He said, "Ma'am, I really want my wife to study. And because she has not had the experience and the fun of studying in a college. And she is here. She has got 92% in the first semester."
Oh, wonderful. Wow, that's amazing.
She's so self-driven.
Wow.
And, open to trying out, experimenting. She understands things fast. If she doesn't understand, she'll jump up and come to the teacher and say, "I did not understand. Please explain it to me." And the girl who came to me during the admissions was talking only in Hindi, and now she talks only English. So, there are people there is no age limit. Like you said, Varsha, there is no age limit to learning. You just need to have a passion and a love for making your own life more meaningful. Because when you love what you're doing, you are the best.
Absolutely. Wow, wonderful. I'm feeling so blessed that I could speak to you for design today. And I think this is the start of the journey. And this is the start of the colorful design journey. And that's how we have named it Design Talks. So let's talk about design because there is so much to talk.
So much.
And in fact, what we generally talk about design is not what exactly design is. So design is so different, and design is actually contributing to human life.
Yeah.
You showed us the way, and you actually crafted a very beautiful world for us.
They say that design is a serious business.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It looks so beautiful, but for the others, because we have made it beautiful for them.
Yes.
But what all thinking, what all research, what all experiences that a designer goes through to make another person's life beautiful.
Absolutely.
Is that design process that they follow.
Yes. What is just a pleasure for a minute or so for somebody is somebody's lifetime experience.
Maybe, yes.
I mean, that's how the equation is. I mean, actually, you cannot equate it. Because the designer on the other side would be always very, very heavier. He comes with so much of imagination and something which normal people really cannot.
Varsha, you'll be surprised to realize that, or to know that most of the designers in this world are extremely humble.
They are.
They do not think that they're doing a
and they
great
look
job.
so simple that,
Very
I mean,
simple.
they could just bring out a brush from their bag and they create a wonder then and there. And that's how they create magic at the place they are standing.
Yeah.
I mean, they are magical. They are magical.
I always loved my decision that I became a designer, and that I think I've taught millions of children.
I think all the students and the listeners should thank you. That good that you are a part of this career, because in that case we would have lost a mentor. So we definitely wanted a mentor in this field who could have showed us how design is and how design would be in days to come. How it has evolved through the years and how it is going to bring more careers for students today.
Careers and more money.
Yes.
I mean, most of my ex-students are really, really doing well. They're doing their own business. They are able to think out of the box so beautifully. They are exporting abroad. They are dealing with the realities of the Omicron and still doing so well. Creating things which are amazing.
Yes.
Earning lakhs and lakhs every month.
Wonderful.
So it makes me very proud.
Absolutely.
Reach there.
Yeah. I think the world should be proud of designers, because otherwise world would have been just a plain and simple place to live. Yes, and the creative world we are in, the power of thinking, power of making human life a little better and different, and bringing more things into existence. What you think cannot be, can be if there is a designer. So it is so brilliant, and thank you so much for being a part of Design Talks today. Before we wrap up for the day today, it is definitely a very heartfelt question. How was your feeling today to come to the radio station for the first time?
Oh, this was so beautiful. Barsha, you yourself bring so much of life to this radio.
Thank you.
That it makes it so easy to talk. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I loved every minute of being here. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much.
So we take this journey, and like we say that एक मुलाकात कहीं पर खत्म होती है, अगली मुलाकात के वादे के साथ फिर मुलाकात होगी.
मैं बिल्कुल आऊंगी.
Yes, absolutely.
And I will talk more.
Absolutely. Let's talk more on design. And दोस्तों डिजाइन टॉक्स में आज मैंने अपने आप को ना इन चंद मिनटों में कन्वर्ट होते हुए देखा, और मैंने अपने आप को समझा कि पावर ऑफ इमेजिनेशन क्या होता है, पावर ऑफ डिजाइन क्या होता है, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज को हम डिजाइनर्स के थ्रू कितना बेहतरीन और सुंदर बनाते हैं. और शायद जब हम कहते हैं दुनिया खूबसूरत है, तो उस शब्द के पीछे एक डिजाइनर है. तो डिजाइन टॉक्स में फिर से डिजाइन की बात होगी. आज बस यहीं तक. सुनते रहिए रेडियो सलाम नमस्ते.
Salaam, salam, salam, namaste, salam, 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 namaste.